Brilliant green and the forgotten art of simplicity. There is something that happens to many people after retirement, or on that retirement adventure, I should say. It's just something they don't expect. A small cut, a scrape on the arm, maybe a little skin irritation, and suddenly it becomes a bigger concern than it should be, Not because the wound itself is serious, but because modern life has made simple things so complicated. People stand in a pharmacy aisle, for example, staring at 50 different bottles, creams, sprays, wipes, wondering which one is safe, which one works, which one will not cause some new problem, allergic reaction. Now, years ago, things were much, much simpler. When I talk with older folks, people who grew up in the 1940s and the 50s, sometimes even earlier, my mom, I'm taking care of her right now. She's 97 and she has vascular dementia, but I still talk with her, and she grew up in the 30s, and she was born in 1928. So I had some really fascinating conversations. But when we looked at the medicine cabinet, it was always simple with her. It usually had green, blue, maybe some what we used to call monkey blood, And my mom and them, for example, they put iodine on everything. And we have iodine deficiency. That's another topic. And when I was growing up, we'd get a cut and they'd say, we're going to put monkey blood on it. But it was mercurochrome. Well, they've kind of outlawed some of that and iodine too. But I still seek that and keep that kind of stuff that I can in the medicine cabinet. And also keep things like camphonique and Bactine and things like that. But, and these things that was in the past, it did just a simple job. You clean the area, applied a little bit of red, or iodine or monkey blood or green stuff, and let the body do what it already knew how to do. Now, one of those old remedies, I tell you, is really fascinating because it was called brilliant green. Now, most people today have never heard of brilliant green. And it's outlawed basically in the United States. Now, in Russia, they still use this, and it looks like iodine. It puts a green drop, but brilliant green has so many qualities to it. It's an anti-cancerous agent. It's just fascinating. I don't know why they would even outlaw it at all. But it was developed in Germany about the same time as methylene blue. So fascinating, in the 19th century. These are two medicines, methylene blue and brilliant green, and they were developed in the 19th century. Now, you hear me go back to the 19th century, and I tell you that was a wonderful time, and that's a time that if you could mix the two times, if you could bring the organic people of the 19th century to having the technology of today, you would have a super humble race, I should say, that would be thankful of these things. And they wouldn't take things for granted. Now, I don't know if we evolved to that or what we'd evolved to today, but I like to go back to that 19th century thinking because observation was great. But now, like I say, if you go back to the late 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, doctors understood something that we often just plain forget today. They knew that the body does have tremendous amount of healing on its own. If we, the God put that into us. It was made up by our Creator, and if we simply create the right conditions, clean the wound, prevent infection, leave the body alone to repair itself, that was the philosophy back then. And brilliant green was one of the simple antiseptics used for that purpose. It was widely used in Europe and Russia for decades. It's still used today in Russia. A small amount was applied to minor cuts or skin infections, and it worked because it stopped the bacteria from multiplying, while the body's own repair system took over. It was not a complicated drug. It was not expensive. It did not require 10 different instructions, and most importantly, it did not interfere with the natural intelligence of our Creator that designed our body. Now, when I bring up things like this, I'm not telling people to go back in time or throw away modern medicine. Modern medicine has saved countless lives. And when someone has a serious infection or injury, professional care matters. You know, it was a blessing that we came up with penicillin and 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 all the antibiotics and things of that nature. But what I am pointing to is something much deeper. Older medicine often worked from a different mindset. The goal was not to dominate the body and play God, like today in some cases. The goal was to assist the body. Take note of what the Creator needed and what he gave to us. That difference, his attitude changes everything. When doctors in the 19th century observed healing, they paid attention to the conditions surrounding the body, what God created. They looked at sleep, they looked at food, they looked at sunlight, they looked at rest. They understood the whole enchilada. Those conditions were right. The body performed remarkably well. They knew if all that stuff was working right in the background, the body worked well. You see the same principle in simple antiseptics like Brilliant Green. Clean the surface, protect the area, let the body repair itself. And the truth is, this same principle applies to much more than a small cut on the arm. It applies to the entire system of the body. As people move into retirement, the body has been recording information for decades. It's keeping your scorecard. Your report card is your body. Minerals have been gained and some lost. Sleep patterns have shifted. Stress has come and gone in your life. Diets have changed. The body remembers all of it. It's recorded. But something encouraging happens too. The body also begins responding very quickly when we start restoring the right conditions, the right environment. Give it real sleep, give it clean water with proper electrolytes instead of constantly flushing mineral outs. Don't give it a food of lack. Give it what it needs. Spend some time in the sunlight. Eat real food, as I've said in the past. Constantly processed food is no good. Try to avoid that all that you can. Allow periods of fasting where the body resets internal systems. You know, a 16, 18, 24, 36, 48-hour fast, sometimes 72. Now, these are not dramatic interventions. They are not complicated medical procedures. In many ways, they are simply the modern version of what older medicine already understood. Support the body. Do not fight it. Now, one of the biggest mistakes people make today is believing that health must always come from something so complicated. A new drug, a new machine, a new therapy. Sometimes maybe it does, but often you get back to the basic fundamentals. You know, unpatented drugs that the pharmaceuticals, they can't make any money off, they cast them aside. Even if they're working, even if they cure. But they keep coming up with new drugs, new prescription drugs, and they make a lot of money on it. I'm saying follow the money, and it's sad that we have come to that. I think in the 19th century they had not got to the part of greed, and I think greed has overtaken our medical system to the point that it's jeopardizing our lives. They had rather get you hooked on a pill that you become a RGU, a revenue generating unit, and you keep buying this pill, which will lead to chronic illness in many cases, not all. Sometimes it helps people, but in many cases, if you're not the project manager of yourself, then what are you going to do? You're just going to go in there and take it? In many cases, I've talked to people where a lot of these pills, for example, high blood pressure pills, have led to diabetes. But you know what? If they would have looked back, let's say, for example, high blood pressure, got their D3 levels right, got their minerals like potassium and magnesium, their blood pressure would have came down in check. You know, I've talked with a relative and been on blood pressure medicine for years and years and years. And now they were diagnosed diabetic. And now the doctor said they put her on all these different blood pressure medicines, but then they prescribed her potassium. And I think, why not do that first? So, you know, these are things, you probably have your own stories that we can connect the dots here and help us avoid, as we're moving into retirement, help us to avoid this and get our foundation. That's our minerals, Get your electrolytes in your water and take care of that. Get you some Redmond salt, Himalayan salt, Celtic salt. I like Redmond salt. I put a pinch of it in the water. It has many trace minerals. I put potassium citrate in my water. I make about two quarter tablespoon scoops of that in my drinking water. And then I take a quarter tablespoon of magnesium chloride and drop it in the water. And I shake that up and drink it. I put it in about I guess it's about a 24 ounce, 30 ounce deal of water. And drink it and sip it all day. This is what we need to start thinking. I just don't go get tap water or go get filtered water and do that sort of thing. We've got to start managing things, and I'm talking to myself too. We can't go up there to Marcus Welby and say, "Fix me," you know. Now there are some good doctors who are working so hard, and I tell you, I'm astounded by many of them are on the internet and they're speaking up and they're doing things, and you know, God bless us for having them. But we have got to ultimately be our own managers here and try to do the best we can to reach optimal health. And that's where I'm talking about methylene blue. It is an amazing product. It helps restore your mind. It can help with people with dementia, and it can help you to regain your energy. Many celebrities have been taking this stuff. So what I'm just trying to do is I'm throwing this at you. Try to research some of this stuff and try to help you see what's optional out there. This is not a period of we're just sat here and we're waiting to die, okay? You need to know that this is the second act and you've got a lot that you can still do. God has a plan for you. We have got to have wisdom in this country. We have got to have some senior people that will show the younger generation how to live, how to handle problems, and what is needed to be done. This is we're lacking in this department, and retirees, we're all older, we're all needed, and we've got our jobs ahead of us. And I hope that this can encourage you in your own life to look and say, you know what, all this shapes me. Spiritual, the physical, the food, the sleep, this is all shaping into one product, and that one product is you. It's like building a building, okay? And you just picture yourself fit as you possibly can, and in good health, and what you can do with that extra time that you have. It's just amazing, you know. So, you know, I tell you, you know, sometimes, you know, we're talking about retirees and times, but sometimes the body is just simply waiting for you to wake up and offer it some better conditions with some of the things that I've mentioned. I've talked with many retirees who feel as if their body has just started to slow down in ways they didn't expect it because they were too busy trying to live like a high school student, maybe. I don't know. But the energy's not quite the same. Healing takes longer. Sleep becomes unpredictable, and the natural assumption that decline has started. Let's not talk about being old. Let's talk about being mature. And being mature, you need to be wise. But you know, don't interpret it like that. Very often, the body is simply just asking for you to give it attention, mature attention. The body's saying you have entered a new phase of life. I need maturity, the conditions to change a little bit, more rest, better mineral balance, a little more sunlight, less constant eating, more deliberate living, and when those things begin to shift, something interesting happens in your body. Energy often returns, sleep deepens again, the mind becomes clearer. The system begins reorganizing itself. It's very similar to the way a small wound heals when you clean it properly and allow the body to do its work that God designed. The repair process was already there. It just needed the right environment. And this is where retirees hold a quiet advantage. For the first time in many decades, life offers you an opportunity to slow down just enough to observe all these things your body's trying to tell you. There's more time to notice how the body responds to food, rest, minerals, and sunlight. You are the lab case. Study yourself and learn. Get to know yourself. It's just more time to adjust, and you can readjust the habits after you observe your faults. In a way, you know, retirement becomes a laboratory for your observation. You're no longer rushing through life. You can start paying attention again, and when that happens, a lot of wisdom begins returning. Older generations understood something we are slowly I hope we're getting our way back to rediscovering. That's what I'm doing here. And I'm hoping that myself and all of us on this journey can get there. Now, the body is not a machine that constantly needs fixing. It is a system that needs proper conditions. Support those conditions, and remarkable things begin to happen quietly in the background. That principle applied to simple antiseptics like Brilliant Green a century ago. Amazing, isn't it? And it still applies to the way we care for the body today. Nothing dramatic, nothing extreme, just careful attention, patience, and a little humility toward the intelligence already built into the human body. It's something God gave us, you know, and we need to be mindful of that on the spiritual side. Retirement is not the end of usefulness. In many ways, it's the time when observation becomes possible again. And with God's help, you can get lined out, spiritual and physical. And sometimes that simple act of paying attention changes more than we ever expected. Now, I don't have all this figured out. I'm still working on it myself. So let's keep moving forward on this journey together. Thank you. I appreciate you watching.